Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. Today I'm gonna go through all the films that I watched in 2024. It's currently 5:30 a.m. January 1st here in Finland, so it's still 2024 in America. But yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully your holiday period has been decent. For me, it was pretty good, and I'm trying to still keep the holiday spirit for a few more days, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I logged 317 things here on Letterboxd in 2024. There are some short films, but most of them are feature-length films, and then there are some anime TV shows and some Japanese like mini TV shows as well. So Letterboxd for some reason again allows some of these shows to be on Letterboxd, but then they don't allow the lots of the long series to be on Letterboxd. But anyway, I might mention also some of the other TV shows that I watched this year, if I remember. But anyway, let's start with these diary entries here. So we are gonna start with early January. So January 2nd, I watched this Japanese mini TV show From Me to You, Kimi ni Todoke. So that's based on like a famous manga, and there are some anime adaptations of that manga as well. But that was a pleasant and slice of life teen show, very heartfelt, but nothing that special. But I enjoyed it. You can watch that on Netflix. Then I watched a kind of a okay, childhood favorite or one of my favorites when I was in my early teens. It's Blood and Bone, a Michael J. White film, and I love Michael J. White, not necessarily for his acting, but for some other things. But this is such a fun action movie, and I actually watched it on YouTube, so definitely go watch it on YouTube if it's still up there. Then I watched the sequel to Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life because I had just finished watching the whole show just before this, but the whole show you cannot log on Letterboxd, so it's not here. And I'm actually surprised that I've managed to not watch Gilmore Girls after this because it's been a year, but usually I cannot go for more than 9 or 10 months without watching any Gilmore Girls because I'm just so addicted to that world. Yeah, but this time when I watched this sequel, I actually liked it more than I usually do. Sometimes I skip watching this sequel show because it's not as good as the original, but now it actually kind of grew on my estimation, so that was fun. Then I watched this film, which was really good, Theo and Hugo. It starts very crazily, but it was a very heartfelt film in the end. Yeah, I watched it on Mubi, I think. Yeah. Then I watched one of my guilty pleasures. It's 13 going on 30, kind of the female 2000s version of the Tom Hanks film Big. I always have a good time with that one. Then I watched this Japanese film called A Gentle Breeze in the Village. I was quite excited about that as it sounded like my type of thing. It is that kind of typical slice of life, family, teen film from Japan, but I was a bit disappointed by it, but it was still pretty good. And not many people know about that one, so go check it out if you can find it. Then I rewatched one of my favorite films. It's Andrew Hayes' Weekend. Absolutely love that film. One of my favorites from the 21st century. Always a great time. Then I watched the John Schlesinger film Sunday Bloody Sunday, which was a good movie, but at the same time I thought that it was a bit, lifeless and bland, but still good. Like I gave it 4 stars, but sometimes you hear, for example, in the Criterion Closet videos, people really hype that film up, so I don't think it's worth the hype, but it was still good. Then this was also released on Criterion fairly recently. It's To Die For, starring Nicole Kidman. And yeah, I had a great time with this film. It's not a great film, I think, but it's lots of fun and well made. Then Guy Gill's film, Love at Sea, really good. Not as good as Wall Engravings, but still very good. Then I watched The Others, yeah, which was a decent horror film, but not necessarily something that I love, but yeah, still a fun watch. Then I watched the Jordan Peele film Nope. which I didn't like that much. It was well shot and well acted and stuff, but I didn't really care about what happened in the film and the story and stuff. Yeah. But I liked Jordan Peele's previous stuff quite a bit more than that. Then this was one of the highlights of the year, this Kylie Minogue concert from 2011 in London. Yeah, such a colorful and beautiful concert, and I love Kylie's music. And this was kind of the period when I was getting really obsessed with her music, so that's why I watched that back then. And then we started the SGS Recommends podcast in early February. So I watched The Other Side of Hope by Kaurismäki and Fox and His Friends by Fassbinder. For that, these were the first two films that we talked about on the podcast. So that was nice. Love both of those films. Then I watched Pasolini's Arabian Nights, which is a very solid film, very good aesthetics and yeah, very interesting stuff. Then I watched a Fassbinder film called Gods of the Blake, one of his kind of more unknown films and not a very good film at that, one of his also very early films. Yeah, then we need to go to the next page and scroll down. So then I rewatched Romere's Claire's Knee, which is one of the Six Moral Tales. Yeah, absolutely love that. Love that film. Then I watched Godard's Passion, which isn't one of my favorite Godards, but it was still very interesting. Then I think this was Valentine's Day, so I watched Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle, which might be my favorite Romare film. It's just so beautiful. Absolutely love that film. And I believe that this day I also talked to my friend Tony in the evening, so it was great to watch a film from our mutual favorite director and then talk to Tony. Then I watched Agnes Varda's, I don't remember what this was called in English, but La Pointe Court. Yeah, probably butchered that. But that was pretty good, but kind of left me cold. But I think, quote unquote, objectively, it was a good movie. Then this was one of my favorite watches of the year. It's Ryusuke Hamaguchi's Happy Hour, which is a 5 hour kind of slow cinema piece where not much happens, but it's just very engaging. Yeah, but probably it's probably his slowest film out of the ones that I have seen from him. And this is one of Tony's favorites. It's about the famous poet Emily Dickinson. It's A Quiet Passion. I think it's directed by Terence Davies, so I really enjoyed that. Then I watched this Maurice Pialat film, We Won't Grow Old Together, which was quite good. And Pialat is a director I need to watch more from. I've only seen a couple of films from him. So then this was a very good recent queer film, Blue Jean. Yeah, it's about the 80s kind of Thatcherite Britain. Yeah, it was good. Then this one I was in the Rare Film website. It's Susaki Paradise Red Light District by Yuzo Kawashima. It was kind of, I mean, it's from 56, but it kind of shows those like very early beginnings of the new wave, even though it kind of is before the new wave period, but it kind of has a bit of that type of style already. It was good. Then I watched this film from India called Chidambaram, which was good. Um, yeah, and this was really good film from the Real Film website. It's Rosala Rose, Public Girl. It kind of has some Chuck Demi elements in it, and then some Pedro Almodovar elements in it, and even some maybe Fellini elements. And I really love that mix. It's a really beautiful film, very colorful film, and very engaging film. Would highly recommend this. Not many people talk about that. Then I watched Francois Truffaut's The Story of Adele H with the great Isabella Adjani. Yeah, enjoyed that one quite a bit, even though Truffaut is maybe my least favorite director of the French New Wave. I always say that he's kind of the troglodyte of French New Wave, as his films are the least challenging of all the directors, I think, yeah. Then I watched Buñuel's Tristana, starring Catherine Deneuve. Yeah, it was good, but not one of his best films. Then this is one of the highlights of the year. It's Three Crowns of the Sailor by Raul Ruiz. Aesthetically, one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. And if you like experimental art house cinema, I would highly recommend that one. Then I watched The Last Dive, which is another challenging art house film, but a very good one at that. Then this one was another highlight of the year is Philip Garrel's The High Solitudes. 80 minutes of only like depressing close-ups. But I love that type of cinema. I love close-ups. So yeah, really beautiful film, but definitely not for everybody. Then this one we did for the podcast. It's Bowling at the Beach by Eric Romer. Really loved it this time around. It's not one of Romer's like the best films, but it's one of his most fun films. Then I watched this feminist classic called Born in Flames, which was really good. I think I watched it on YouTube. Then Emergency Kisses, another good art house film, yeah. Then this one was for the podcast as well, La Chinua, my favorite Godard film. Always have a great time with that. I think I've seen it 3 times now. Then one of Rome's best, Laugh in the Afternoon, with a very emotional ending. Lots of great scenes, great performances, great dialogue. Um, and then possibly my favorite film of all time, The Emperors of Cherbourg. And I think this day I also talked with Tony. I remember I watched this and then we had the call, so that was really nice. Yeah. From the Life of Marionettes by Ingmar Bergman, so that was really good film by him. Deserves more love. Then Stolen Kisses, another good French film. Then Up Down Fragile by Jacques Rivette, a really good musical, a very challenging film as well. I'm not sure quite what it wants to say, but I still enjoyed the style and the charm of it. Then I've Always Loved You, we just talked about that on the podcast. Far From Heaven, a really good film. Um, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down by Almodovar. Yeah, it was solid, but I think kind of problematic at the same time. And again, Almodovar has never clicked with me fully, but I still want to watch his films and see if I can find a favorite from his filmography. Then An American in Paris, fun, classic Hollywood film. Then Moonrise, a Frank Borzecki film, really good noir. Then The Bandwagon, another good classic film. All of Us Strangers, I really loved that film. It was so beautiful and so relatable. Highly recommend that. Portrait of Jenny was good. Freaks was good. French Concana was a good Jean Renoir film, but not my favorite. Then Saturated Race, The Coward was good. You've Got Beautiful Stairs, yeah, decent film. The Fiancés of McDonald Bridge, another decent film. The Pleasure of Love in Iran, yeah, these are Agnes Varda films. The Meetings of Anna, a good Chantal Akerman film, one of her best, I think. The Beaches of Agnes, a really good Agnes Varda film. Martha was one of my highlights of the year by Fassbinder. Yeah, excellent film. Underrated one at that. The Vanishing Lion, Murmurs, again, more Agnes Varda. Good stuff. Documentaire. Yeah. Coming to America, I I watched it because I thought it sounded really fun and I ended up really loving it more than I thought I would. It was just so hilarious. I loved Eddie Murphy in it, and yeah, this is probably gonna be a film that I watch quite often in the future because I really enjoyed it. Then I watched Andrei Zhuagintsev's Elena, really good. The Wild Pear Tree by Nuribil Ceylan might be my second favorite from him actually after Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. Yeah, this just has that perfect kind of very talky style. There are so many extended conversations here that are very interesting. The Man from London, a Bellatar film. Didn't love this as much as I loved most of his films, but it was still good. The Day He Arrives was a really good Hong Sang-soo film. God, this is gonna take quite a while to go through all of these, but yeah. Then I watched a couple more Ceylan films. I watched Three Monkeys and Climates. Both are very solid films. Then I rewatched The Return by Joaquin Phoenix for the podcast, and yeah, that film just absolutely blows me away. Yeah, it's one of the best of the 21st century. And this next one is a very great film from the 21st century as well, called Turtles Can Fly. Definitely watch this one. I never hear anybody talk about that film. So. Then this one was for the podcast as well, The Life of Oharu, one of the big Japanese masterpieces. Yeah. Then I watched the fairly recent Abhijapong Veeratse film Memoria, starring Tilda Swinton. Very interesting film, quite challenging as well. Yeah, was good. Never Rarely, Sometimes, Always. This was a really good recent American film. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not necessarily kind of enjoyable in that classic way as it is fairly dark as well, but yeah, it was a good film. Uncle Yanko, more um, Varda, Mikey and Nikki, really good. Elaine May film. Yeah, really enjoyed that. Past Lives, a very hyped recent film, which I quite enjoyed. It's my type of cinema. Yeah. Red Psalm was a good Miklos Jankso film. Yeah, not one of his best. Decision to Leave by Park Chan-wook. Yeah, again good, but I like some of his earlier stuff more. Trading Places was another fun Eddie Murphy film, not quite as good or fun as Coming to America, but still good. Perfect Days, one of my highlights of the year. Absolutely love that. Then Ozu's There Was a Father, maybe slightly underrated one from him. I think this is like maybe out of his pre late spring films my favorite. It was just so good. Yeah, might even become a favorite. Then In Front of Your Face and Hong Sang-soo film, one of his weakest in my opinion, but still interesting. The Zone of Interest I have kind of mixed feelings about. I think it's overall again well done, but also just very cliche at the same time. Even though again I agree with the kind of banality of evil thesis as that's so easy to observe every day in this god-forsaken planet that we live in. So yeah. Record of a Tenement Gentleman, another Ozu film, really good. Story of Floating Weeds, again another Ozu film and a good one. Yeah. Although neither of the Floating Weeds films are among my favorite Ozus, I know that for many people they are among their favorites, but for me they are just good. Then this one was for the podcast is La Religieuse by Jacques Rivette. Absolutely love that film. I Graduated But, another Ozu, Straightforward Boy. Yeah, these were both pretty decent. What Time Is It There? A charmingly young film. I rewatched that. It's one of his best. Then I watched Sokurov's Whispering Pages, very Dostoevskian film. Love that. The Devil's Trap was a bit disappointing, but still pretty good. Mother and Son by Sokurov, one of my highlights of the year. So beautiful. The Flowers of Saint Francis by Roberto Rossellini. I rewatched that, and yeah, it's a really good film, although I kind of expected that it would become a favorite after this rewatch, but it didn't, so but still very good. But I think it's maybe a bit uneven that there are moments that I think are absolutely brilliant, but then other moments that I like a bit less. Then this was one of my favorites of the year, Mikio Naruse's Sound of the Mountain, just absolutely brilliant. I watched it on the Criterion channel, Flunky Work Hard, pretty good. Apart from You, good one, yeah. Every Night Dreams, decent. That Night's Wife, another decent one. Then Lenotti Piace we rewatched for the podcast. Yeah, loved it. Then I watched Ryusuke Hamaguchi's one of his earlier student films called Passion. Very good. You can see that it's a student film, but it was still very good. Then I watched the Nicolas Cage film Big, which was, I mean, it was pretty good, but again, I think overhyped. From Paris with Love was for the podcast, and this is one of my favorite guilty pleasures as well. So much fun. Dragon Ball Z, The Tree of Might. yeah, I think I just before this I rewatched Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. It was around the time that Akira Toriyama unfortunately passed away. But I had great time with all the Dragon Ball stuff, as I always do. But of course, these films aren't as good as the show. Then I rewatched the Fusion Reborn one, then Wrath of the Dragon. Then we watched Three Iron for the podcast. My favorite South Korean film. I think I've now seen it 3 times. Dragon Ball Z, Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan. Yeah, Love at Peace was for the podcast as well. Love that. Zoo Warriors on the Magic Mountain. I think this was one of the worst films I watched for the year. I couldn't get into it at all. I think because of Dragon Ball, I was kind of in the mood for some martial arts stuff, but yeah, I didn't like that one. Still Walking was for the podcast. Yeah, masterpiece. Action Man Robot Attack. Again, childhood favorite of mine. It was one of my absolute favorites as a kid, but now I think it's one of the worst films I've ever seen, but I still enjoy it. Then The Year of the Hare, I finally rewatched it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Finnish films. You can watch that on the Rare Film website, although the quality is quite bad. Koyoukin, an amazing Hideo Kosha film, my favorite from him, starring the great Tatsuya Nakadai. Then Yoshimitsu Morita's Haru, one of my favorite 90s films. You can watch that on YouTube and on the Rare Film website, and maybe even in the Internet Archive website. But yeah, anybody who likes Japanese cinema should watch that one. Then I watched Woody Allen's Match Point, which I enjoyed a lot. Bittersweet Life was for the podcast. Yeah, great Korean thriller. Then let's change to the next page again. Then I watched the John Sayles film Lone Star, which got a Criterion fail recently, and yeah, it was a good movie, but not a favorite of mine. Then Woody Allen's Interiors, that actually kind of relates to my channel name because I think the word Vulgarian comes from that film. Although it kind of, before I watched that film, I had heard the term from my friend Tony as he really enjoys this film and he loves that quote. So it kind of comes more from that than the film itself. But I think the origin of that is this Woody Allen film. Yeah. Then I rewatched the Silent Voice, Silent Voice animated film for our podcast, and that's probably my favorite animated film of all time. So I loved rewatching it. Then this one was for the podcast as well, Conan the Barbarian. Such a fun movie. Yeah. About Eli, the Asghar Farhadi film. Like that more than his most famous film, Separation. Yeah, this was really good. Heaven is Still Far Away is a like a 30-minute short film from Hamaguchi, and it's really good. Then The Tree, The Mayor, and the Mediathek, a bit more kind of underappreciated Rome film, and it's more explicitly political than many of his films are. And it's great, and so much great dialogue in it, and still much of it is still relevant today, I would say. Showing Up is a Kelly Reichardt film, which I thought was pretty good, but Kelly Reichardt still hasn't blown me away. I need to watch more of her stuff. Then I watched Elegant Beast in the Radiance Films release, another Yuzo Kawashima film, and it was good. Then this one I watched on the Eureka Blu-ray, Revenge by Tadashi Imai, good samurai film. Then this was possibly my biggest highlight of the year, this anime show called Nana, and then I also read the manga after, and yeah, this universe is just one of my absolute favorites, and I love Ayasawa's work so much, and yeah, this is a show that yeah, I think I'll be watching many times in the future, and also I still need to get the physical copies of the manga. Yeah. Then this one was for the podcast Nostalgia by Tarkovsky. Great discussion and a great film. This one was for the podcast as well. Ceylan's Distant or Uzak, one of his early great films. Then I watched Merrily We Go to Hell. which I wasn't the biggest fan of, but it was still good. Faces, Places, another great Varda film. As you can see, I watched quite a lot of Agnes Varda, and this was a very heartfelt anime show, Bloom into You. Really enjoyed that. And this was, along with Nana, like such a huge highlight of the year. It's called Your Lie in April. Such a beautiful anime dealing with, again, the healing power of music and childhood trauma and, again, classical music and the competitiveness of it all. And this hit the heartstrings so much. I think I got teary-eyed in like 5 episodes, and I think it's like 24 episodes in total. So that kind of tells everything you need to know about it. Then I rewatched I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which is a really solid anime, even though it kind of has one problematic scene in the middle that I know kind of ruins the whole film for some people, but I kind of look it more holistically, the film. I think that, yeah, that scene shouldn't be there. It's a very stupid and problematic scene, but at the same time, I love the rest of the film so much, so I can kind of look past that. Yeah. Then, very recent Sion Sono film, Red Post on the Escher Street, which is absolutely amazing. Yeah. Then Sasaki and Miyano, I rewatched um, a really good manga or anime series. I haven't read the manga. Apparently, the manga was banned in somewhere in America. I don't know why, because it's just a like very light-hearted, very tame, like teenage kind of gay story. There's nothing graphic about it, at least the anime, so I don't know why it's banned. But I mean, it's the US, so what else can you expect from the Republicans? So, but anyway, we have Yasujiro Ozu's An Autumn Afternoon, a really beautiful film, possibly even his best film, and it was his swan song. He died, I think, just after this film came out, so or maybe even around the time it was released. Then Bigger Than Life was also for the podcast, possibly Nicolas Ray's best film, at least one of his best. Yeah, great stuff. Then we have My Night at Maud's by Eric Romer, one of his, I would say, deepest, more complex films. Such a beautiful film, and again, it's one of the six moral tales. It's absolutely incredible. Then I finally watched the original West Side Story. I still haven't watched the Spielberg one, and I don't really want to watch that one either because I'm not a Spielberg fan. But yeah, I really love this one more than I thought I would. Just beautiful visuals, great music, and everything. So yeah. Then this was probably my favorite first time watch out of the films this year. Again, if we count the shows, then it would be Nana. But yeah, out of the films, it's Charisma. And yeah, we might be doing a podcast episode of this soon. There are some plans for it, although I don't want to kind of do a definite promise, as you never know. But yeah, there might be a podcast episode on this sometime in January. So look out for that. Then I watched the Miyazaki film Castle in the Sky, one of his kind of earlier films, and it was really good. Then I watched the Toyota film Hanging Garden. I haven't watched much Toyota yet, unfortunately, but this one was really good. Then I watched Koreeda's one of his more recent films called Broker, which he made in South Korea, and it was a again good, but yeah, many of his recent films aren't quite as good as some of his earlier stuff, I think. Funny Face is a classic. It was good, although the kind of age gap of the lead actors, you can really notice it, and it's just, and I feel like they don't have that much chemistry either, so that kind of takes a bit out of the film, but I really love the visuals and the music and everything, so there's a lot to love about this film, but then some things that don't quite work. Cabaret by Bob Fosse, really good film. Finally watched that one. I Walked with a Zombie. It's decent for the time, but not really my type of film. I rewatched one of my favorite guilty pleasures, Confessions of a Shopaholic. Yeah, it was a lovely time. Then I finally watched the Cinderella story. I watched it for Chad Michael Murray, but as a bonus, I got Hilary Duff as well. So really enjoyed that film. Yeah. there's this beautiful kiss in the rain towards the end, and we have Jimmy Eat World, a good kind of 90s, 2000s indie band playing on the background. So yeah, love that film. Then I watched Heroic Purgatory for the podcast. This was my third time watching it, and yeah, one of my top 20 films of all time, such a masterpiece. This was for the podcast as well. Hou Xiaoshen's Millennium Mambo, my favorite from him. Then I watched the Madonna, the Confessions tour, and yeah, I absolutely loved it. Again, this year or last year, I really got into Madonna and Kylie Minogue, and yeah, again, and even in the late in the year, I was listening to so much Madonna. Now there are like three Madonna film or albums in my favorite albums list: True Blue, Like a Prayer, and Ray of Light. And Like a Prayer is probably at this point like a top 10 album for me. I just absolutely love it so much. Yeah. Just My Luck was a fun rom-com from the mid 2000s with Lindsay Lohan, I think. Yeah, it was fun. Then Hamaguchi's Evil Does Not Exist. I liked it a lot, but I like some of his previous stuff more, and this is a bit of a departure from his normal style, both visually but also I think even in the kind of narrative. I kind of wanted more of those kind of classic Hamaguchi dialogue heavy scenes, although we get some of it here. Like there's this scene where all the kind of citizens of this town come together and they talk what they should do, and that was kind of classic Hamaguchi, but I kind of wanted a bit more of that. I've heard the Ammonite Murmur. I watched this in the Rare Film website. It's kind of an experimental Japanese film from the 90s. It was amazing, and nobody talks about this film, but you should watch it. Then I watched a recent film that has gotten lots of hype called Bottoms, which I enjoyed. It wasn't great or anything, but it was fun. Yeah. Conflagration by Kon Ichikawa. I kind of watched it because had seen some shots of the film that looked really beautiful, and then this poster really speak to me as well. So, but yeah, it was good, but not as good as Burmese Harp, for example. Then I watched Hitchcock's Frenzy. Not one of the best Hitchcocks, but I thoroughly enjoyed it nonetheless. Ecstasy of the Angels by Koichi Wakamatsu, one of the crazier directors of the Japanese New Wave, and this was an absolutely insane film, but I liked it. Yeah, Dress to Kill, again a Brian De Palma film, not really something I loved, but it was decent. Yeah, so feels quite dated at this point, but it had some high points, like the visuals were good. Iretsumi by Masumura, really good film. A Special Day was for the podcast, loved rewatching that. Stalker was for the podcast, I loved rewatching that. Then I watched the story written with water. I got the Blu-ray as a birthday gift from my friend Alte, so that was nice. So, and I really love that film. Yeah, it's a 5-star film. Yeah, it was just so great to see more Yoshida on Blu-ray. Yeah. Then I watched Retribution by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, which I really loved. Great kind of ghost story thriller-esque film starring Kochi Yakusho, as always. So yeah, one of his best films. The Snow Woman, a really good Japanese film from the 60s. And this got also released by Radiance, but I watched it before it was released. Yeah. Then three more pages. I saw the TV Glow that has been hyped a lot, and I enjoyed it quite a bit, although it really goes heavily through that kind of nostalgia route that I don't always like that much, but it was good and visually very engaging. Then I watched Kurosawa's Pulse, which was absolutely excellent. I really loved that one. The Man Who Knew Too Much, a Hitchcock film from the mid 50s, and this one I actually liked more than I thought I would. I was really gripped by the story, and I was in the edge in the edge of my seat. So yeah, it was great time with that. Then I was Battles with Honor and Humanity. I have to say that I couldn't really get into that one, but yeah, it was still again okay. Then I watched Kaguru Ishii's Grace Thunder Road, which was pretty good, but again, not a favorite. Then I watched She Was Like a Wild Chrysanthemum, which was a good mid-50s Japanese film. Carmen Comes Home, another 50s Japanese film. Yeah, another decent one. Yeah. Then The Castle of Sand, the 70s Japanese film. I think I watched that on the Criterion channel. A good kind of slow burn thriller. Yeah. Killers on Parade, another Criterion channel Japanese watch. Pretty good. Gate of Hell, another Criterion channel Japanese film. Really beautiful. Um, Late Chrysanthemums, really good. Miki Narose film. Yeah. Then Kotoko was for the podcast, my favorite Tsukamoto film. Like Father, Like Son was also for the podcast, one of my favorite Koreeda films. Then this was one of my favorites of the year, Nobuhiko Obayashi's Miss Lonely. And I think either Obayashi or Kiyoshi Kurosawa is like my most watched director for the year. I'm not sure, I didn't count. And as I use the free version of Letterboxd, I don't have the access to all the kind of crazy statistics if you sub to Letterboxd. But yeah, go watch this. This is in 1080p in the Internet Archive website. The Rocking Horseman is also in the Internet Archive website. Another Obayashi film, a fun movie. I think this is in the Internet Archive as well. The Little Girl Who Conquered Time, good one. Well, this one I watched on Blu-ray. Another Obayashi film, Casting Blossoms to the Sky, a masterpiece. Visitor Q, Takashi Miike film, famous for being absolutely nuts. Yeah, and it is. But I still enjoyed it. And it's absolutely nuts, but I think there's lots of kind of dark humor in it. But I know that most people don't get dark humor, so for most people, this is just a nut job film and not a fun film. But yeah, Bound for the Fields and the Mountains and the Sea Coast. Yeah, another Obayashi film. So many Obayashis. Yeah, yeah. This like a few day period, and I watched like 5 Obayashis. Yeah, this was in the Internet Archive as well. Lingua Franca, a Criterion Channel film from Isabella Sandoval. Really good film about the immigrant experience. Shangri-La, also from Sandoval, a short film, great, great. Then this one was one of the best films I watched this year, The Organizer, a masterpiece, Italian film, all about class. Ornamental Hairpin wasn't that good. Another Criterion Channel watch, yeah. Try Long Soul, really good movie. The Adjuster by Atom Egoyan was good, but I kind of expected more from it. I rewatched The Young Girls of Rochefort and absolutely fell in love with it with this watch. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. Yeah. The Perfect Man. I don't know why, but I've watched this Hilary Duff film so many times. Yeah, there's just something about it that makes me come back to it. The Last Legion was one of my absolute favorite films as a kid. Again, it's kind of like a pre-King Arthur film because it kind of sets up the King Arthur story, but it's really good. Not really good, but really fun. Yeah. The Day Trippers is a interesting film. This was one of the big highlights, and I've actually already been thinking that I should rewatch it. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Yeah. Werkmeister Harmonies. My favorite Bellatar film was for the podcast. Maporoshi was for the podcast as well. Such a stunning Koreeda film, his feature debut. And one of my absolute favorites. I rewatched Kamikaze Girls from Tetsuya Nakashima. So good. Banana Fish, really good kind of mobster anime. Yeah. Blue Giant, a jazz anime film that I absolutely loved. One of the highlights of the year. Fellini's Satyricon we watched for the podcast. Celine and Julie Go Boating we watched for the podcast. Love both of those films, especially Satyricon. I watched Koreeda's Monster and it was excellent. Although again, I like some of his earlier stuff more. Before We Vanish, one of Kurosawa's later films. with a very interesting premise and a decent execution, but still I like his kind of mid to late 90s films and then the kind of early to mid 2000s films. Yeah, and then I was Skolimowski's Deep End finally. I've wanted to see that film for a long time and it was good. Then I watched this Mamoru Oshii trilogy, which starts with the red spectacles. This was kind of disappointing, although I would highly recommend this trilogy as it seems to be like very kind of underseen, other than like the final part of it, which is an animated film. The first two are live action films, but the animated film seems to have gotten a decent sized audience, but the first two films not many people have watched. Then I rewatched Nana, yeah. Then I watched this Japanese like a live action manga adaptation called My Love Mix Up. The manga is really popular and this adaptation was decent and I need to read the manga. And this is the second part of this trilogy, Stray Dog, Kerberos Panzer Corps. Then Oasis and Rebels of the Neon God and Damnation were for the podcast and yeah, I love all of those films. Then I also rewatched Your Lie in April, The Eel by Imamura, really solid film. I watched that on the Rare Film website. Typhoon Club by Shinji Somai, watched that on the Rare Film website as well. Good stuff, although I haven't kind of gotten into the same wavelength with Somai like completely yet. Then I watched the Van Damme film Kickboxer, totally awful film, but I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Yeah. Then I watched Susumu Hani's She and He from Rare Film website. Was a bit disappointing. Japanese new wave film, but still interesting. Then I watched The Dark Crystal, really not my cup of tea. Maybe I would have enjoyed this as a kid, but yeah, not anymore. Then I watched Excalibur by John Boorman, which I really enjoyed. Then The Adventures of Robin Hood, I enjoyed a lot. Great 30s film, very epic and just beautiful visually. Then this was one of my highlights of the year, Free Rent Beyond Journey's End. Such a beautiful anime show, kind of mixes fantasy and slice of life. So yeah, I really love that and I want to get in the manga as well. And this anime is also gonna continue later on. So Drawing Closer was a decent Japanese film from Netflix. Call Me Chihiro, a good Netflix film. Rurouni Kenshin Part 1 Origins, my least favorite of the Rurouni Kenshin films. First Love, this was one of my highlights. I absolutely love this show. This made me get into Hikaru Utada's music as well, that I would highly recommend if you like art pop and R&B. Yeah, but please watch this. This is on Netflix. It's just so beautiful. Yeah, the full-time wife escapist and the full-time wife escapist New Year special. More Netflix TV, Japanese TV drama stuff, and I really enjoyed that. Good comedy stuff. The Third Murder by Hirokazu Koreeda, one of his weaker films, but good. Harmonium, really good film. My Sons, watched that on Rare Film website, and I think I did a video about it as well. Very solid film. License to Live, a Kiyoshi Kurosawa film. Okay, again on the Rare Film website, good stuff. The Family Game by Yoshimitsu Morita. This one I watched in the Internet Archive website. Very good, and I made a video about that too. Tony Takitani, I watched on the Rare Film website. Really beautiful film. Sword of the Stranger, a fun animated film, but not that good. Love Life from the same director as Harmonium, very solid film. A Touch of Fever, I watched on the Rare Film, or not, or I think it was actually on YouTube, but a good Hashiguchi film. Rurouni Kenshin Part 2, Kyoto Inferno. Yeah, that might have been my favorite out of the Rurouni Kenshin films, or maybe the third one. They kind of have the same story, so yeah. Then I watched Tsukamoto's Vital, which was absolutely excellent. It's on YouTube. Then I watched Obayashi's Emotion, which is also on YouTube and on the Criterion channel. Really good. Mirrored Mind, possibly my favorite Kaguru Ishii film at the moment. Very interesting. Labyrinth of Dreams, another Kaguru Ishii film, very good. Himitsu by Sion Sono. For some reason, I expected this film to be kind of a less crazier Sono film, but it's actually absolutely nuts. Yeah. Then Rurouni Kenshin, the final. Enjoyed that one. Porco Rosso, a good Studio Ghibli film. Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, again a prequel to the series. I really love the series, and this prequel was good as well. Twilight Samurai was a good movie, but not great. This was one of my highlights of the year. Japanese TV drama called Orange Days on Netflix. Yeah, just so beautiful and heartfelt. Then Turn to Me Mukai-kun, another great J-drama from Netflix. Really enjoyed that, and hopefully there will be a second season to that as the ending kind of leaves it open. Grand Mason Tokyo, really enjoyed that cooking show, Japanese cooking show. And apparently, I think there's just a sequel out of this called like Grand Mason Paris, I think, or something like that. And this was like mind-blowing film from the Internet Archive. Go, again, absolutely nuts Japanese film, or it kind of starts very crazily, but then it kind of becomes a bit more kind of meditative. Yeah, but very interesting stuff. Tokyo Blood, Kaguro Ishii, 30-minute long short film, very good. Or not very good, but good. Then I finally watched my first Naoko Okigami film, Close Knit, which I liked a lot. I was even very close to giving it 4.5, but I decided to go with 4. Shadow of Fire, a Tsukamoto film, very good. A Bride for Rip Van Winkle, uh, Junji Iwai film, very good. Well, there were times that it kind of lost me at, but then there were other times that it was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, very interesting film. Then another Obayashi film, The Discarnates, which is adaptation of the same book that All of Us Strangers adapted. Really enjoyed that one. Beijing Watermelon, another Obayashi film, which I really enjoyed. The Munekata Sisters was the last 50s Ozu film that I had to watch, and it's not one of his like masterpieces, but it's still very good. I flunked Path, another Ozu film. Woman of Tokyo, another Ozu film. Passing Fancy, another Ozu film. No Blood Relation, this is a Mikio Naruse film, but these were all watched in the Criterion channel. Walk Cheerfully, another Ozu film. Again, these 30s, 20s Ozu films, most of them are just kind of okay, pretty good, but yeah, still worth watching. Tokyo Chorus, Dragnet Girl. I've noticed that most of the kind of Japanese silent films are quite forgettable. They are not bad, but they don't like, kind of reach the heights of FW Murnau, for example. The Ghost of Yotsuya, watched on the Criterion channel. It was interesting, but I didn't love it. Then another Ozu film, A Mother Should Be Loved. Serpent, a Japanese silent film I watched on YouTube. This is Japanese silent film shows on the road. I went a bit crazy with the Japanese silent films. Tokyo March. Repast was a very solid Mikio Naruse film from the 50s. The Lady and the Beard, Where Now Are the Dreams of Youth. These are also Ozu films. Destiny's Son by Kenshi Mizumi. Enjoyed that one. Crossroads, another Japanese silent film. Pretty good. Then a Mizoguchi, early Mizoguchi film, The Water Magician. Like the visual style of this film was very like weird, but I kind of like the narrative, so I thought overall it's a good film, even though the visuals kind of turned me off a bit. The Dancing Girl of Itsu, The Lion Dance. Then I watched Nuri Bilge Ceylan's Winter Sleep, which is great and obviously one of his most famous and acclaimed films, and I can see why. Street Without End, solid one. What Made Her Do It, an okay and silent film. Then Ken, it's part of the same trilogy as Destiny's Son. It's a very different film though, so I still need to watch the third part of the trilogy. They are currently on the Criterion channel. Eclipse, Chushingura, The Truth, Jiraiya, The Hero, The 47 Loyal Ronin. Yeah, I mean, it was has been interesting to go through these Japanese silent films, even though, like I said, they are quite forgettable and stuff. But as I hadn't seen many silent films from Japan before, it has been interesting to see kind of what filmmaking was like back then. Skull, Puparia. This is like a 3-minute anime short from a few years ago, and it was absolutely beautiful. Would love to see like a feature length film with that style. Eternal Heart, Maple Leaf, Viewing, Une, Tokyo. Yeah, these are like very early shorts. Katsuda Shashin, early animated one. Life is Sweet. I rewatched that Mike Lee film. Yeah, it's a really good Mike Lee film and quite funny. So Chenji, Baba. Then I rewatched on the Criterion Channel one of my favorite films of all time, The Mother and the Whore. This was the new 4K restoration and looked absolutely beautiful. Then on the Christmas Eve, I rewatched A Tale of Winter, one of my favorite Romeo films, and this film has lots of kind of personal meaning to me. Yeah. Then I also rewatched The Devil Probably, which is like a complete opposite of Tale of Winter. Again, Tale of Winter celebrates true love, but Devil Probably kind of has those kind of nihilistic characters and stuff, so it's a complete opposite, but very interesting. But still, The Devil Probably it's still one of my least favorite press songs. It's like really good, but it just doesn't fully click with me. Yeah. Then I watched the Robert Rossellini film about René Descartes, the famous philosopher. It was good, but I like his film Blaise Pascal and then the Socrates one more than this one. Then I watched this very interesting Godard film, First Name Carmen. Yeah, I don't really know what to think of it, but I still enjoy it. Then I absolutely love this rewatch of Boyfriends and Girlfriends, one of the comedies and proverbs by Romer. Yeah, this really improved on this rewatch and became one of my favorites. Yeah, such a great film. Then I watched Luchino Visconti's Conversation piece. I've had this on Blu-ray for such a long time, so I finally watched it. So it was great to finally get the Blu-ray out and watch it. And it was a very solid film. Nobody really talks about this one, but Burt Lancaster was really good in it. A Good Marriage, another Rome film. This is one of his weakest ones. Yeah, it kind of has all the Rome elements, but it just doesn't have that kind of charm and magic that some of his other films do, but it's still good. Then I watched the Robert Eggers film, The Northman, which I kind of have mixed feelings about. Obviously, some things work in it, but the plot is extremely cliche and even the style, while it looks good, but it's not necessarily like the type of style that I enjoy, but I still think it's like a pretty good movie, and I can see why some people really love it. Yeah. Then this one I couldn't really get into. It's The Seventh Victim. Then this is the third part of the Mamoru Oshii trilogy that I mentioned, although this was kind of written by Mamoru Oshii and then Satoshi Kon actually, but it wasn't directed by them. But this one I liked more than the live action ones. This animated one had. It was a bit more interesting in my opinion. Then The Lamb, another silent film. Then I watched Poor Things, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I think it's probably the best looking film I've seen from the 2000 or 2020s so far. But at the same time, I feel like it's just the themes are so simple and in your face in a way that it kind of could have used a bit more nuance and depth, but it's still a good movie and I really enjoyed watching it. Yeah. Then I rewatched I've Always Loved You for the podcast. Then I watched Paul Schrader's First Reformed, which obviously kind of reminded me of again Bergman's Winterlight and then Diary of a Country Priest, but it still has also its own thing. And yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, it tackles some very interesting themes, and I thought it like visually it looked really really good as well. And I thought Ethan Hawke was quite good in it. And again, I've had a digital copy of this film for like 4 years, so it took me so long to watch it. But I'm so happy that I finally watched it. So yeah. Then I watched Pride and Prejudice, again adaptation of that famous Jane Austen novel that I really like. But yeah, I liked it more in the novel form because these kind of period piece like films usually aren't my cup of tea. But when I read a period piece as a book and I can kind of imagine it on my own way in my head, then it kind of doesn't have as much cringe as when you watch film adaptations of it. But it was like a very solid adaptation again. Good performances, good visually, but still, again, it's just not my type of film. Even though I was so excited to watch it, but yeah. Man slashing, horse piercing sword, an unforgettable grudge. These are Daisuke Ito films. Mount Fuji, The Movement of Clouds. Crab Temple Omen, early animated film. And then to end the year, I watched this whole show yesterday and I had such a great time with it. It's called Ore Monogatari or My Love Story. This kind of extremely cute anime series, like a love story. And this was such a great choice for the New Year's Eve because I really wanted something that is kind of light-hearted and something that I can just kind of binge watch and I also had a cheat day yesterday, so I had some cake and stuff, so it was just great to watch something like this and then have a cheat day. Yeah, but such a beautiful show. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was the year. And then if I mention some of the TV shows that aren't here, I rewatched the OC as I always do. I rewatched BBC's Merlin. Then what else? Well, I can't remember everything off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Heartstopper I watched a few times, and obviously the new season of Heartstopper came out, so I watched the new seasons already a couple of times, even though it came out only 3 months ago. So that was one of the highlights. But yeah, anyway, I thought it was a solid film watching year. Like you can see, 317, and I haven't started film watching for the 2025 yet, as I just woke up 2 hours ago, so I haven't had the time. But yeah, I'm probably gonna watch something today. But yeah, let me know if you what you think of any of these films or what did you like to watch in 2024 and how was your year and how has your holiday period been and you can mention whatever you want. And again, I'm gonna continue making content this year, but again, we'll see where life takes me and how much content I can do and I'm inspired to do. And again, we have plans for the podcast, but it might be a bit different than what it used to be in the in the way that it won't be quite as frequent and we are probably also we've thought that we are also gonna now just focus on films and cut the music part out, but again we'll see how that develops. Again, we've kind of chosen a couple of films to discuss, but I think I'm not gonna kind of announce those things like before anymore, but I'll just upload the episodes and you can see them when they drop. But we'll see. We are still kind of figuring out the thing. But we did some plans like a few days ago when we talked. So yeah, looking forward to continuing the podcast and my own content. And yeah, but anyway, happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimasu.